the All Africa Students Union, who are presenting a bold statement. It is a student-led report titled Rethinking Higher Education Pathways for Innovation and Sustainability at the 16th Quadrennial General Conference of the AAU, taking place, like I said, in Morocco from today to Friday. The report emphasizes the urgent need for climate-conscious reforms, integration of green skills into curricula, and stronger student participation in decision-making across African universities. Now, with Africa facing escalating challenges from climate change, socio-economic inequalities, and an evolving green economy, ASU calls for higher education institutions to prepare graduates with interdisciplinary skills, sustainability, literacy, and innovation capacities for a just and resilient future. Now, we are going to go into a good discussion with my brother, Bismark Amefianu Kudoafor, who is the technical officer for the All African Students Union. Bismark, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And how are you doing this morning?
I'm well. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Very much like we are up and running for this general conference, but we'll still bring you some feed later on. Right now, we want to get back to Bismark, who was telling us about the paper that ASU is presenting at the general conference and why this is important for this general conference.
So the paper is basically to contribute to the conference. So we know the conference is discussing how to shape higher education for sustainable development. In the past 3 years, the All Africa Student Union has been working in that very space that the AAU conference is going to discuss. For 3 years, we've been doing a lot of consultations with student unions, with students across Africa and even in Europe to understand exactly how higher education should be integrating green skills and green jobs into their curriculum. And so this document we have prepared is the student perspective that we're going to share at the conference. It tells the conference what the vision of the students are, how they think higher education can be transformed to really take care of the climate emergency we are currently facing.
All right, that's a good point to note. So let's get into the details of the report.
Yes.
The report highlights a major green skill gap in African higher education.
Yeah.
What exactly does this gap look like?
So the green skills gap is basically what students on campuses are being taught and what is happening in the outside world. What students should be taught is to understanding that the climate change has hit us and everybody has to have a contribution to it. Higher education becomes one of the very good space, in fact, the biggest space to transform education, to transform minds, and to transform economies. So students need to be taught green skills and green jobs perspective. But what we are seeing currently after the consultation we have had, and that students are intimating that only some particular colleagues on campuses are privy to climate change and climate sustainability issues. Some other categories of students are not being taught because of the pathway they have selected. Yeah. So we're having a green skills gap, but when those particular students who do not have perspective on climate change go into the world of work, what are they going to do about climate change? However, every skill and every job can be greened, and we need every student to be taught what climate change is, what sustainability is, what their contributions are on their campus. So to the extent that the majority of students are not in that space being taught the environmental science.
So let me ask this. Do you know if some of these initiatives are already supported by the universities?
Some are being supported by universities. You know, our consultation, we had to look out in the European space, how it is being done with some universities and what is happening in this space. We partner with SOS International, which is Student Organized for Sustainability. We've had consultations with them. We've attended their conferences in Belgium and Netherlands. And on their campuses, it is students who hosted us. What is happening on those campuses, they have what is called green offices. Now, the green office is a school-funded, a management-endorsed school-funded setup where students and faculty members are brought on board. They are the ones who interrogate sustainability pathways on their campuses. They are the ones who make recommendations on the carbon footprint on their campuses. So the school funds them. But in our African space, we have limited funding for those kind of initiatives because the universities, of course, have other needs for their monies. But we want to bring it to the fore, especially at this conference. Where, I mean, this conference is going to have vice chancellors, deans, and management members, all of them attending this conference in Morocco. So we are bringing this issue to their fore that they should dedicate good funding for student initiative on climate and sustainability.
That's great. I just saw further in the report that this thing is quite a bold thing for me, if you ask me. For you guys to call the current curricula rigid and outdated.
Yes.
This is crazy, because you know the kind of institutions that oversee our curricular reforms and everything for the various higher education systems. So for you to call this rigid and outdated, it's, for me, number one, is bold. So if this is rigid and outdated, how do you think the universities are failing? Because we are talking about real world sustainable challenges that Africa is facing.
Yes.
So how do you put these two together?
The curriculum is indeed rigid. I mean, it takes, it's a very bureaucratic process to change a curriculum. And most often when they set a curriculum, they measure the implementation of that curriculum. They perhaps say, let's say 5 years, let's try and see how transformative it's going to be on the students. But you realize that sustainability issues are quite swift. And so curriculum should be flexible enough to adapt to change over time, almost immediately when change is needed. Consultations are hard when curriculum are being set up. I mean, of course, let's give them credit. They do wide consultation with employers, private sector organizations, with government and all of that. But it's when we get to the point where climate change and sustainability issues are hitting us, and we need to take bold steps to reform it. We are not seeing that happen almost quickly, and we need that to happen on a more quick manner. The curriculum should be very flexible enough to adapt to change.
All right. Interesting. I just hope that your approach will be seen, because, like I said, for me, it sounds really bold. But that's a daring thing to do, and for me, it is inspiring that young people are the people behind this brain. Now, further into this paper, there is you mentioned earlier that usually there's just a few students who are skewed towards the climate change programs who are exposed to these things. So why do you think that people studying law, business, engineering, and the other arts are supposed to be familiar with this?
Everybody studying on any university campus in Africa should be exposed to environmental studies, should be exposed to climate action, should be exposed to sustainability, because in all of the jobs that they are going to take, they can green their spaces. The person who is taking construction needs to know how they are building construction, or even the roads they are going to construct should be environmentally friendly. What steps and what technology should the person apply? The person needs to know. The person who is building the houses needs to know that they need smart buildings these days. The person who is engineering a car should know that we need to use EV cars these days, cars that are not burning full over time. So we need those. Everybody on campus, and every program, every course should have some form of sustainability trainings within it.
Okay, all right. I think that makes sense. And so if you're watching and you are studying any other program in the university, maybe it's time for you to start thinking about climate change and anything that affects us, because it is a general issue. You don't have to be a person who is studying just the climate related programs to know that this is a big deal. So if you're doing any other program, maybe this is the time to look at that. All right, so let's talk about the student agency structure and then the structural barriers. Okay, what does a student agency look like? I doubt many people understand the concept of the student agency in our African higher educational space. First of all, what does the agency look like, and how does its absence undermine the sustainability reform?
Student agency is basically the recognition of the students and their inputs in the policy framework of the organization or the institutions. The idea that students are the consumers of what the university structure and what the university is teaching. And so the fact that students need to be part of the decision making of the policy framework that decide what is taught them. That recognition is not very, very, very recognized within an African structure. There are few universities where the president or the student president is on the council. But that is not enough. We need the student to be on every academic board every council, everything that has to do with students needs to have the student within it. We have a mantra that we usually say that what is for us, if that is not with us, then that is not for us. So we believe that the students should be respected, their input should be taken at every point. That's why this document is being presented to the decision makers on campus, to the management on campus, because this is a pure student-led consultation and dialogue we have had, and this is what the students are saying that they need the management and the school authorities to implement for them.
Okay. All right. So still on the structural barriers.
Yes.
The report also mentions underfunded and underfunded sustainable clubs.
Yes.
Because I know on campuses there are various clubs that probably are the ones who champion these courses the most, even compared to the rigid academic programs.
Yes.
And so it comes along with some bureaucratic blocks and some form of lack of mentorship. So what structural changes can the universities do to reverse this order?
First and foremost, we realized from the consultation that there are no clubs in some instances, and where there are some sustainable clubs on the campuses, they don't have sustainable funding. They are giving stipends to manage what they want to do. They are sometimes asked to go and seek for funding outside of the university campuses. But we believe that sustainability issues and sustainability discussions and policies need to involve the students, and they must be given the necessary funding to do thorough research work, be able to do trial on their technological solutions. Their policies, they must be invited. In fact, some of the students need to even be paid if they are undertaking some form of internship on their campuses, or be given some waivers where they can undertake thorough, very, very good research for the institution's benefits.
Okay. All right. So we did talk about why you are presenting this paper earlier at the General Conference. Is this the first time AASU has been to the General Conference?
No, we have been at the General Conference. Our Secretary General, Mr. Peter Koji, has attended the General Conference in other years past. But this is the first major time that we are presenting a researched student perspective to the conference for consideration. Okay.
All right. So given the fact that you have been there before, and because of that, basically you probably had the chance to even present a paper this time.
Yes.
What does AASU hope to achieve with university leaders in attendance? Because like we said earlier, this is the platform where you can best present this, because almost everybody that is a stakeholder in this discussion is represented there.
What we seek to achieve is, one, this document is a student-led, purely student-led document. This is our vision of how higher education institutions should structure academics, how their funding should go for sustainability. So what we seek to achieve is the Secretary General of the AAU and the team and institutions that are member organizations of the All Africa Association of African Universities should adopt this document, go into the recommendations, and of course they can call out to George Oit, and let's see how we can implement the very bold step that the students are seeking and asking of them. It is our vision of how the higher education should teach courses, should fund courses, what we want to learn, what we believe that the outside world and the world of work is asking for. That's what we are telling them we need. And we're asking them to really accept this document and help us implement the recommendations.
Okay. So would you boldly call this like a formal call to your recommendations?
Yes. It's a call to action. I mean, we work with them. They are our fathers, essentially, and they are their managers. They are the ones that direct resources. And so this is our plea. I mean, it's our plea to them. We believe that their recommendation, there's something that they will find very, very useful, knowing that it is coming purely from the student. From what they are doing is for us.
Okay.
And so we need to be part of that decision making and the policy change on the university campuses.
Okay. All right. So let's put some emphasis on the green offices component of the report.
Yes.
Now, you are proposing that every campus has a green office.
Yes.
Okay. What exactly will these offices do, and how would they be led differently from existing university structure, so that it doesn't look like this is something that the university is trying to do again, and then it becomes like a normal thing, and then we don't see what we are expecting?
The green office is going to be a formal university structure.
Okay.
Faculty members and students.
Okay.
Helping to shape sustainability on the university campus. It's going to be funded by the university.
Okay.
And where they need outside funding, the university can front it for them.
Okay.
These students and their faculty members are going to do pure research on university campuses, understand, for example, what is the university's carbon footprint, What is the university doing wrong when it comes to sustainability? What should the university do, or what does the student even want to be taught? What are the sustainability initiatives that the university can engage in? These are things that should be led by the faculty in collaboration with the students. So the Green Office is purely a university structure that is going to undertake sustainability reforms on the university campus.
Awesome. All right. So I'm getting feed that the conference has taken off in Rabat, Morocco, and pretty shortly we'll see some pictures on our screens. Well, you can see members already seated. The room is still yet to be filled completely. I guess registration is still ongoing for many of the participants. And that's the SG, the Secretary General of the AAU, who's about to take his seat right now. Well, so we'll still bring you some more pictures during this conference while we are still on the Hello Africa show. We're still talking to our brother Bismark Amefianu Kudoafor, who's the technical officer from AASU, and we are talking about the paper that AASU is reporting or presenting at the 16th Quadrennial General Conference of the AAU. And basically all they're trying to say is that climate change is a big deal. Let's incorporate climate change into our academic activities. The climate change action shouldn't just be reserved to people who are talking about climate issues. People who are doing law, people who are reading business, people who are reading every kind of arts are eligible to be able to take part in courses that are climate change related. This way, Africa and the students' population in every university in Africa can champion this course individually. We'll still get into the paper and we'll wrap it up shortly. So we have just finished talking about the green offices and how they will work. Let me say, I want to probe further in there. This is a recommendation coming from AASU. We understand what AASU represents and all of that. How sure are you that when you have been able to do this presentation and hopefully it is accepted by the conference, vice chancellors and deans, agree to it and want to implement it, how sure are we that this thing is going to be sustainable? I'm asking because directly this paper is not, or recommendation is not coming from the universities. AASU is a body on its own, even though they are related or affiliated to the universities.
Yeah.
So how sure are you going to make are you going to, or what are the steps you're going to take to make sure that because it's coming from outside the universities, even if they accept it, it is going to work to the latter?
I mean, this is actually coming from the universities,
Okay.
essentially, because these are students.
Because the student is
the student-led initiative.
Okay.
These are students we engage with across the entirety of Africa.
Well, I guess then that would depend if the universities will listen to the students.
Definitely they will. I mean, we have a relationship with the school management in recent times where there's a lot of consultations between us on various policy documents and policy framework that they want to implement. Especially on curriculum change, they have a lot of consultation with us. We've done a lot of programs together, especially with the AAU. And we believe that this very change that we are asking for is something that they will find very, very, very useful. And it's going to be one of the biggest outcome of this conference. Okay. When this is adopted and finally implemented, we will see the process of this policy document.
Okay. All right. So before we wrap it up, you recommend experiential learning, micro-credentials, and digital courses.
Yes.
To close the green skills gap.
Yes.
What is your message to universities that say they lack funding for such reforms?
Universities that are funding for reforms like this, I mean, it's not something that is out of reach for them. They are going to get money for this. Especially, let's start base with the micro-credentials a little.
Right.
We know that because of the rigid nature of some of the curriculum structure they have already, it will be difficult to all of a sudden change them over time. But what universities are also very good at is to adopt the micro-credential, where they're going to offer short courses for students to undertake to understand this and be offered certificates for it. That is going to complement their final degree certificate or their master certificate. That way, students are going to have the knowledge, not because we've forgotten it or because we didn't incorporate it into the curriculum doesn't mean that we shouldn't offer it.
Okay. And
if you're going to have a very comprehensive curriculum change, it is going to delay time. let's go the way of micro-credential, which has become one of the topical things that universities are doing these days.
Yeah.
We are asking them to do a micro-credential course for sustainability and climate change for all students on campuses and be able to dedicate money to us.
Okay.
Because, you see, these days, even the private organizations who want to fund universities want to know if they have sustainability initiatives that they want to fund. They are looking for ways to help universities. When we set up green offices, you'll be surprised the amount of funds that we are going to be able to gather from the private organizations to help these universities.
All right. Okay. So to end this discussion, the report concludes by saying that students are ready.
Yes.
The moment is now. What would real, tangible progress look like within the next 3 years if your recommendations are taken seriously?
We are going to see students who are going to come out from the universities ready to transform their communities, ready to transform the institutions, ready to transform their workplaces, students who are climate savvy, who have adopted to technological change, and who understand that everything they are going to do from day one when they leave the university campuses need to be friendly to the environment. If you do not implement this policy framework, you are going to have a large chunk of students coming out of your universities and not knowing anything about climate change or how even their actions are even implemented. We don't need that. Universities and education should be the best form. It's going to be the best transformative agenda to implement this policy so that students can come out enriched and ready to transform the world.
All right. That's great to hear. So I'm going to give you the opportunity right now.
Yes.
Because I believe vice chancellors, education ministers, AAU leaders are watching this show right now. What would your message be to them directly?
My message to our vice chancellors, our deans and management is that the 16th Quadrennial General Conference of AAU is here. We believe that it has come at a very topical time. And the theme that they are discussing around climate change, sustainability, and how to transform higher education is apt. We are presenting this document, which is Rethinking Higher Education Pathways for Innovation and Sustainability. It's a student-led research that we have done. We've done consultations for 3 years. It ended only this March. And this is the report and the outcome document that we are presenting to them for their consideration. We believe this document contains bold steps that they need to take to transform higher education curriculum, to establish green offices, and to help the students go out of the university to go and transform the world so that Africa and the world is going to be very, very sustainable. We are really pleading with them that they consider these documents, and they are ready to further discuss this document that they are calling. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Bismark Amefianu Kudoafor, who is the technical officer for the All African Students Union, and we have been discussing issues around climate change, and then the paper that AASU is presenting at the 16th General Conference happening right now in Morocco from today to the 25th of July.